Illustrissimo, Joe touched on kind of the legend of Illustrissimo earlier today. What made him what he was is the fact that the way that he trained and the way that he fought carried into later on into life, right? His method of fighting was not one that was heavily reliant on massive amounts of technique, okay? It wasn't reliant on massive amounts of mobility, and it wasn't reliant on massive amounts of strength, okay? Tatang was a man who fought with impeccable timing, right? He gauged his range incredibly well, and his reactions were spot on consistently, okay? So, in order for our brains to respond the way that we want them to, they have to have some sort of correlation between all of the different things we want them to do. So if you have a list of 50 different things, 50 different bridging techniques, how the fuck are you gonna get those through your head, out your feet, and out your hands in the blink of an eye? You won't, right? So that's half the game, right? Taking the things that you need to do and whittling them down to be things that you can do actionably, consistently, okay? And a lot of that's going to be determined by things like consistent positioning, right? This is why with science, when you do any sort of experimentation, what do you require? A baseline. Every sort of experimentation requires a baseline, and that baseline is what you measure everything against, okay? So we talk about things like position, okay? Here, where? Okay, go sit. Okay, so we're gonna square off with one another, okay? Okay. What's the difference between how we're standing? What's that?
Compact.
Okay.
Angle
Weapon
straight.
position forward.
Weapon position, okay? Most weapons-based fighting is a race to 3 o'clock, okay? This is gonna be 3 o'clock, okay? Stay on your end. This is 3 o'clock, okay? This is the race to here. Don't convolute it, don't make it into something it doesn't need to be, okay? At Largo particularly, because this is Illustrissimo shines at Largo, right? Stay on your end, right? So, what's the first thing you know about an opponent when you're fighting them?
Size.
Okay, size, good. What else? Range.
How far they are.
Range, that's the first thing. That's the first thing that applies to you. Because their size doesn't really even apply. You and I want to fight, and you have a blade and I don't, how much does size matter comparatively? How much does range matter consistently, right? So, when you're training, determine the techniques that you're training, you need to know your range and the range of that technique. What's this range? Largo, right? So, if we're training a medial technique from here, right? Does that make any sense? No. Okay, when we talk about bridging, do we bridge from medial? No, we bridge from Largo, and we bridge into Largo. When we're at medial and quarter, we've already bridged, right? So our training needs to make sense in order for us to progress in a reasonable amount of time, right? It shouldn't take you 20 years to get where you want to be, right? And through that, you need consistent training, you need baselines, right, to measure off of. So things like, I'd like to talk about positioning being one of them. And every system has their own different way of standing in there. You know, like some will be in here, some will be in here, whatever, okay? I'm not saying any of them are wrong. This is simply a matter of understanding why you're doing what you're doing, okay? With Illustrissimo, we start here, right? As a very, very vertical starting position, right? Because if I have to get to 3 o'clock, why do I want to start from 9? Right? If he starts from here, you start from here because I'm winning, right? So, okay, if he starts from there and he swings at me, who gets the middle first? Right? From 12. Do I have to be faster than him if my position's better? No, I don't. Right? Because if we're swinging at the same speed, speed is measured by distance over time, right? If I have half the distance, I can theoretically have half the velocity that he does, and we'll meet at the same time, right? So this is one of those things that when you think about the tank, as he got older, why is he able to beat people? Because his position's better, and he's more efficient, right? Swing. 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 More rip. right? If you just need to start just outside the combative range, swing, right? That's it, right? We're meeting each other at the same time. But if you start back here, what else do I have? Ton of information, a ton of information, right? When he swings at me from back there, I get so many tells. This is what Michael was talking about earlier today, right? When we're doing this drill, right? Right? Doing this drill. What are you watching for when I pull the stick back? What am I watching for? All this information, right? That's all, right? So if we're here, okay? Okay, why, when we have a stick, do we now decide to drop our hands? Why is that a thing we do?
Because we have the stick. So
because we have the stick. Right, but why does fighting change then? Right? Why should it change? Because now we have a new thing. If you know how to fight from here, then why change and reinvent the wheel now that you have your hands are full? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
No, don't change it, right? So I'm just going to you. Okay, from here. Right, that's it. If we're talking bladed combat, how much impact do I need?
Not much.
Fairly minimal, realistically. It's a lot, again, a lot of it is just about targeting, right? It's about how am I going to get here? So you swing at me, right? Swing. Okay, so this is the other thing with our training, right? Illustrating, swinging. Is he swinging to hit me?
No.
Why the fuck isn't he swinging to hit me? Well, and I appreciate that, but this, how much did that hurt you?
No.
Right, it totally did. But was it a strike?
Yes.
Right, did it look like a strike that would be thrown at you?
Yes.
Right? It has all of the tells, it's just not quite as fast. Right? So when we're swinging at our partners, when we're training, swing. Thank you. Right? Didn't hurt me. Very safe. We scale our speed. We don't scale the realism of our strike. Okay? This is really important in training because if we're training something that's reactionary, so we're going to go, say, medial. Okay? Measuring range because this is a really good habit to get into. Right? If I want to do, okay, we're going to do a medial technique, we're going to measure, and we're going to train. Okay? Because this is how my brain learns what medial looks like. Right? Measuring it and then doing it. Largo, measure it, and then do it. Okay? So, position for illustrissimo, we are hand near our shoulder, similar to where it would be if we were empty-handed. Right? Same thing. Okay? So from here, right? Position here, hands somewhere near the middle. Great one. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to work first reaction from high forehand attack. Number one, whatever you want to call it. Okay? So I'm going to strike at him with a high forehand attack. And what is it going to look like? A technique that flows through. A strike that flows through. It's not going to stop for him. I'm not going to point my stick at the ceiling so that it doesn't hit him now, because this is the thing that we do as well when we train. And what does this serve? Nothing. This doesn't help him, right? Because when you're swinging, it looks really good. You're doing, right? You do a fucking thing. If I can't swing at extension, doing all these movements, why am I doing these movements? Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's going to strike a 1 at me. Didn't hit me though. He's going to strike a 1 at me. Right? If I don't do anything, what did Michael say earlier? Right? If you don't do anything, you should get hit. Right? So he strikes a 1. Good. Again, give me a 1. Okay. What did I do? I don't give a shit what else he does. If I trigger on a high forehand attack, I just need to put my weapon here and step off the line. That's all I'm doing, okay? It's no more complicated than that. I know that we're going to meet at this midline. If I beat him there, I can then move off that line. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So my partner at Largo, you measure, he throws a high forehand, I step off, right? How does this end? I don't care. End it however you want. But this is the bridge at Largo. Okay? So there's 4 of them. I break it down to quadrants because I don't feel that we need to break it down to individual strikes. I don't know what your striking numbers are. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know. Right? So high forehand attack. Right? So when I deliver a high forehand attack, his weapon will come to the midline and he'll step off with his left. That's it. Okay? So I'll come in for 1. Right. Now, the important thing is to leave your body out of the way. There. Keep your weapon point up. Right. Because what happens when this is an edge?
Oh, cheeky guitar.
Right? I have a real hard time. This is a real bad day for me. Right? Give me a 1. Right? Yeah. And what do? I'm doing 3 things. 1, 2, 3. This one protects me. This one moves me. This damages my opponent. Right? That's our big one on number 1. Most strikes we're going to be facing are a...
Yeah, go on.
What's that? Yeah, it's a high forehand attack. This is the most frequent strike. Tournaments, live combat, whatever the scenario. Okay? So we do 1, 2, 3. And the reason we do the 3 is because we're gonna fuck it up. And what happens when we do? What happens when I miss this? He strikes. Stay on your end, bud. Okay? When he strikes and I don't have this, or I miss it with my weapon, where are you swinging? Right. 1. There you go. Right? Because I need to get offline. So I do 2 of them. What if I don't have room to move? Right? It moves it enough. Right? 2 out of 3. Not bad. 1 out of 3, probably need to practice some more. But keep in mind the 3 specific things you're doing. Moving, putting your weapon in place, right? You're not trying to hit him here. You strike 1. If my weapon is there, by advent of the fact that he is swinging at me, will make impact, right? Illustrissimo is a reactionary system. It's not an offensive system. It's not a defensive system, right? It's reactionary, okay? Remember Ollie was talking about my success in tournaments and things like that in the past. The number 1 reason I was successful isn't because I'm very good at anything. It's because my timing's good, right? The most difficult thing, as we've said earlier today, is bridging the gap, right? Collective agreement? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
All right. So all I need to do is let him bridge that gap and have better timing, right? Because that's the most dangerous place for the person that's bridging, right? So if I can make the most of that risk that they take, why wouldn't I, right? I'm big, I'm not super mobile, right? I don't move really fast, I don't move really well. So I have to rely a lot on timing. Okay, so grab your partner and we'll work on this first one. So, and we'll see, if you say, okay, I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna come here, or if they do this, I'll do this. I don't get a vote on what you do, right? What you do in a fight is on you. What I do on a fight is on me. I can't base my baseline off of what you may or may not do. Because what's that gonna give me? Is that a baseline? Oh, it's way too much. My brain doesn't work that fast. Nobody's brain works that fast, right? So things need to be done from your baseline. Here now, okay? What's the next attack? What's the next attack?
Backhand.
Okay, high backhand. So, if he gives me a high backhand attack, good. How do we swing? There, good, yeah, okay. My backhand attack, same thing, right? I know that high backhand attack from here. So I hold this block, and it's not a block, it's like a parry, okay? Does that weapon stop?
No.
No, it doesn't. What happens to it? It's through. What happens if I stay here?
It hits you.
It's pretty close. It's pretty tight. A little too tight, right? But what happens is every strike has an arc. Okay? From where it starts, where it terminates. Now, if I throw a barrier between me and him, you'll notice it re-arcs as soon as it can pass that weapon, right? So to make myself safer, when he throws that high backhand, I'm gonna step towards it, right? So I know if my weapon's there, and he throws it, oh, you gonna leave it there? Right? So it's gonna carry through. But his weapon has re-arced there. And like I said, this is close, not really comfortable for me, but not terrible either. And when I throw it off, that's the other side, right? Because I'm doing 3 things again, right? I'm stepping, so that arc is going through, fine, right? Right? Now slow down a little, I'm going to pass it. That's my 3rd point, right? Contact, step, pass. Counter strike, right? I don't need to grab him. I don't need to try and retain control because again, when he throws it at me, where's his weapon now? It's a long way away, right? I can keep on moving around you. Do I need to re-engage? Yeah, you have to disengage. I don't have to do anything, right? Particularly at Largo, which again is where this fixed will shine. The rules get tighter the closer you get to medial quarter, okay? So, high backhand, weapon up, just like, give me a high forehand again. See how I keep my weapon vertical? And I do the thing? I keep my weapon on backhand. I keep my weapon vertical. I do the thing. What I do doesn't change based on what he does. Because you cannot have a baseline if it does. Okay? I keep my weapon in the same position. I see the attack. Okay? I see the attack, so so firstly, what do we need to do?
Take your range.
Right? This is the thing, the rules change when we're medial. Right? See this? Yeah. Why didn't I pass it? Right, you can't pass it at quarter. Sorry, at medial. Right? This is gonna be instant. Right? But at Largo, here's here. Okay? My backhand, there, through. Okay? And the counter is just right here. Right? The first strike, you just do your right? He has to disengage to get himself in advantageous position. Okay? So we're gonna do that one next. Alright? Very important.
Oh.
Now, his attack is going to be, my reaction to that attack is going to be somewhat dependent on position because some people will throw a low forehand attack like this. How do I read that? It depends on my height, right? Depends on their height in relation to me, right? So if he throws that, yeah.
No, so you want this
no,
one?
No, just like you would, however, right. So this is a good attack. What do I need to do? What's that? I need to speed him 3 o'clock. How do I do it? Go slow, go slow. Right, we have to scale speed. Right? That's the important thing with training and swinging realistically so that both partners, because I can put my stick there and you can swing hard, but what's gonna happen?
I'll get hit.
You're gonna run into my stick real hard, and that's a hard day, right? Yeah. So we scale speed, we don't scale reality. Okay? So when he swings at me, he good swing. Right? So there. Right?
If we're in Largo, though, my only target's your hand.
Well,
I know why I'm aiming for
I
your
don't
hand.
give a shit what your target is.
Well, I'm just asking because of the. Huh?
Go where you need to go. It's not my business. Right? Okay. Right? Okay. Sorry, from up here. So, what am I doing at this range that I wasn't doing before?
Stepping back.
What's that? Right. This is the only range that this isn't going to work at. Why? What's that?
His ability to get you at the same time.
Right. So the thing is, you need to range out on a low forehand attack. It doesn't matter if it's a thrust, an upward, a horizontal. Our reaction is going to dive from here to here. Right? And I'm just going to meet at 3 o'clock. Right? Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Right? Super, super cut and direct. You're taking your weapon from 12 o'clock to here. Bring your weapon back. Right? At corto, or sorry, at medio, am I going to do the same thing? No, of course not. Right? At medio, right? We're here. Consistent. Right? That's the baseline, medio corto. But again, the rules change, like I said, once we move into medio corto. At Largo, we need to evade low forehand attacks. Okay? Sorry. No, it's just when you get somebody that always swings the same way.
Yes.
Right. Then it doesn't lend to any sort of faith in what's being taught.
Okay.
Right. So when he gives me a low forehand, right? Why didn't it hit? Right. Right. So we need to get out of the way. Right. Just consistently. And do I need to get a mile out of the way? Just the how far back do I need to get? It needs to not hit me. That's it. Right? So from here, there. And you're really, again, just occupying that middle ground. Right? And you can move into, especially with those ones, you can like impact disarm territory. Right? So, back. Right? And then do whatever counter strikes that you like to do. Okay? Okay, go ahead. Right? At Largo, I have time. Right? You don't have video recorder. Right? So I can do all of these different things to meet that weapon, but there's only really, like, you can look at all the different techniques. There's only four ways to deal with any attack, no matter what it is, okay? So you can pass it without changing the velocity. You can meet it and change the velocity. You can parry it upwards, or you can parry it downwards, and that's it. Four things you can do, right? This is passing. Passing without changing velocity. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does that imply that there might be a set of redirecting upward, redirecting downward, right? Or meeting and changing the velocity, right? Because, okay, so give me one, right? This is passing without changing. Meeting with stopping can't happen for right? Because what happens? Okay, yeah, give me one. That ain't gonna work for shit, right? That's me getting hit. But at medio, right? Medio corto, same attack, right? You can stop, right? Same attack, redirect downward. Same attack, redirect upward. It's the only four things you can do. Okay? It's not more to it than that. Don't make it complicated. Sorry. Anyway, so low backhand. From our fighting position, he delivers a low backhand. Okay. Low backhand. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Right. I'm inverting my weapon. Okay. I need to invert my weapon to meet it. Point up won't work. What happens if I try? It's probably going to hit me somewhere in or around everything I don't want to get hit. Right? So I need to invert. Okay? So I go from here. Instead of sweeping my weapon around, which is going to be incredibly slow, I'm going to bring my elbow up. Change on the spot, right? This is the center of the movement right here. Okay? Now, I step into the weapon, step into the strike. Again, right? At what point am I touching the edge? Go slow. Not. Okay? So I'm stepping in, and realistically, if he's throwing a low backhand, throw it. No, throw it. Okay? So here, we have to follow through. Throw. Okay? If this weapon is directly on me, is what I'm trying to illustrate, if it's right on me, that's not terrible, right? Like, did I get hit?
Yeah.
What's the core rule? What's the first rule of fighting?
Don't get hit.
You're gonna get fucking hit. Don't think for a second you won't, and if you do, don't think you're losing. It has nothing to do with not getting hit. It has everything to do with trying not to get hit, right? But it's gonna happen and you're gonna fail. And is that the worst thing in the world?
Nope.
But if you can minimize it, right? Because what do we do when we get into a fight and we get hit? What happens to people who have trained particularly?
Keep fighting.
What's that?
Keep fighting.
But what happens to you in your brain? Anybody ever been in a fight and been like, oh shit, what are people gonna think? Absolutely. You are now piling social convention on top of actual violence, right? What if I lose? What will people think, right? What if I get cut? What if I get hit? Well, you're fighting, and if you're not getting hit, you're probably not really fighting. It's probably not a real fight.
Yeah.
If it is a real fight, resign yourself to the fact that you will get hit, okay? So you can just get rid of that idea that you shouldn't, okay? So minimize it. low backhand. If I'm here, give me lower. And it follows through, dang it. Was that terrible? So much better than that, right? But realistically, I'm not doing one thing. I'm doing three things, right? I'm checking, I'm parrying, and I'm stepping. Strike, right? Strike, 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 right? Again, right? So I'm here, strike, yeah, whatever, right? There. Again, right? Low. This is the other thing. I need to define low for him. Again, low. Low. Yeah, low. Why is that important? I'm trying to illustrate something, but realistically, do the one you just gave me, that higher one. Is that, yeah. Am I doing a low attack on that one? Am I dealing with that like a low attack? It doesn't look like a low attack to me. That looks like a 4. A high backhand. That's this reaction, right? So, in terms of illustrating the technique, I'm going to keep on trying to do this one, right? But for reality of a low attack is going to be anywhere around here on me, right? Everybody's going to be built different. This is the thing that you're going to need to determine for yourself, right? There comes a point when you're bringing your stick up. This is the differentiating point. Your elbow determines it. Your elbows determine actually, your elbow position determines a lot in combat, okay? It determines body position, it determines bodily control, right? Make sense? Do you guys know what I mean? Right? Like, if he goes to throw a backhand, and I go here, can he throw that low backhand? Fuck yeah, he can. Make it happen. Yeah, right? Now, if I have his elbow, throw that backhand. Right? I'm fine. Right? I can control body position from the elbow in a way that I can't from here. Don't want it. Right? So position, I want to control here, or I want to control here. Right? Because if I can control the elbow, I can control the upper body to a great degree. Not completely. You'll never have complete control of a person. Right? But this is probably your best source. Because if I grab it here, what's he going to do? Anything he wants. So don't do it. Right? Elbow's the spot. Okay? So that low backhand again, I turn it, invert my weapon. Okay? Again, invert, carry through. What do I do now? Whatever I want. Right? Because I'm free and clear on this side. Right? He has to disengage in order to re-engage. I have the advantage. Okay? Thank you. Keep going.